pretty recently, I received a request from a subscriber who messaged me on Instagram and requested that I make a video of how I like to spool a baitcaster, but he wanted to see a different way than the regular traditional way. So you're going to need a rod and a reel, of course, duh, fishing line, and a line spooling box. If you look on a reel that either has the MGL spool or the S3D spool, you're going to see that the slots in the spool are really small. A lot smaller than some other fishing reel brands, okay? So these holes in the spool are why I am able to do this spooling method with a Shimano reel pretty well. Now normally, if I were to spool a baitcaster, I would put the line through, you know, and when it gets onto the reel, I would tie an arbor knot, okay? Now, that is an effective way to do it, but like I said, this is going to be a different way to spool a baitcaster. And I might as well add in there that if you're spooling braid on your reel, you can use a piece of electrical tape that will work, but at least in my opinion, the proper way to spool braid on a reel is by using a monofilament backing. You use some of your monofilament, maybe about, I don't know, you wrap it around to where it lightly covers the spool, and then you put your braid on. That's just the way I like to do it. Anyway, I was gonna set up a table and show you guys this way, but the reason why I am doing this on the ground is because I think that is going to give an effective demonstration, you know, for video purposes. Now, of course, if you're first starting out with a baitcaster, you would probably want to use monofilament, but I'll save that for a later video. I'm going to be using Sunline Super 16-pound fluorocarbon, okay? First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the line out of the box. And if you're wondering about this line spooling box, I actually got it at Walmart for, I think it was like $4 or $5. And it's not the greatest, but it does serve its purpose. It does work well. So anyway, I take my 16-pound Sunline Sniper out of the box. I like to keep the sticker. And I'm going to pull the line out of the slot that it came with out of the package, okay? And where the line was kinked, I'm going to cut it. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to put the spool of line in the box, but obviously I'm going to make sure that it is in the slot in the box, because if it's crooked, you're going to notice that it's not going to spool right, okay? So you put it in the box, and you take your line, and you put it through the hole on the outside of the box. Grab your line, close the box, and then you're going to snap it closed, okay? Take your line, and all you're going to do is you're going to start putting it through the guides, like so. Now, after you get your line through all the guides, when you come up to the reel, okay, you have your line, you have your reel. When you go to put the line through the worm guide, you don't have to, but I like to have the worm guide in the middle of this part of the reel, just so the line is going to go straight into the reel, okay? Okay, so the line is through the worm guide. And what I'm going to do after that, this is the part where it gets different, okay? Is I'm going to grab the line, and I'm actually going to hold the rod up a little bit so there's a little bit of pressure on the line spooling box that's over there. But anyway, I'm going to turn the spool a little bit, okay, to where it's not in the center, but a little bit down. And before I do anything, it depends, but usually I will have the cast control knob, otherwise known as the spool tension, set somewhat tight when I first start, and then as I go, I'll either slowly turn it down, or I'll just leave it where it's at. But anyway, all I'm going to do, like I said, on an S3D spool or an MGL spool, is I'm going to take the line, and you're going to put the line through the spool. Now what it's going to do when you go into the spool with the line is it's going to go through one hole in the spool and out of another, and it's going to kind of wrap around the spool. But you don't want to go too far, because if you go too far into the spool, you're going to get line slap after you have it spooled, okay? So I'm going to put that line in there like so. I'm going to hold my finger on it, and I'm going to start reeling it on, okay? And as you can see, the line is going onto the spool. Now, you don't have to do this, but one thing that I personally do like to do is I'll reel on some line, okay? Give that spool a spray or two with the KVD line and lure. KVD line and lure conditioner, Perfect Cast line conditioner. When they say this is going to tame fluorocarbon, they mean it. And yes, I did a video about it in the past. But anyway, keep reeling that line on there. Periodically, I'll stop. I'll spray that line and lure on there. Now, before I finish, I have to say that, you know, as many of you know, fluorocarbon is stiff. It kinks. So you have to be careful when spooling it, because if you're not careful, your spool can actually start to backlash as you're spooling it. And I used to have issues with that when I first started doing it years ago, but you will get better over time. So just keep cranking that line on there. Almost done now. A little bit more. Now this is the part where I've found it can get a little tricky for some people. So I'm going to explain this to the best of my ability. You spool your casting reel, okay? Now, I don't like to overfill the spool when I'm spooling up a bait caster, and the reason why is if you do, it can cause your line to backlash, and it can give you all kinds of problems, whether you use monofilament fluorocarbon or braid. But anyway, I like to leave maybe, I don't know if you guys can see that, but I like to leave a lip on the spool, maybe like, I don't know, close to 1/8 of an inch, maybe. And that way there's going to be enough line on the spool. It's going to cast good, it's going to work, but it's not going to be overfilled. It's not going to cause you those issues. And if you use 16-pound test, which is what I have on there now, I think you're going to get in the area of about, I think it's 90 yards, probably 80, 90 yards, something like that. When I'm done spooling my bait caster, all I will do is I will take my scissors, pull out a little bit of line out of the box. I will cut it, okay? Then take my line back here, and one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pull enough line out to where it's just about even with the spool, and then I'm going to tie in my bait, and that is about it. That is just the way that I like to spool my Shimano reels. I mean, I will do it where I tie an arbor knot or maybe an overhand knot, or I will also do it that way. Find which way works for you, and I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys next time.